The first blow in a war many men silently endure. Chain 1. The silent rejection. She ignores your effort and never listens. When her silence drowns your effort, let your absence answer louder. 1. The effort she never sees. There's a unique kind of pain only a man knows when he gives with sincerity and is met with indifference. You tried. You texted back. You asked how her day was. You planned dates. You remembered the small things. You listened to the stories. You carried her weight when she was tired of the world. But instead of appreciation, you got silence. Instead of effort back, you got absence. Instead of warmth, you got the cold draft of half-hearted replies and maybe later. You weren't expecting perfection. You were expecting presence. And that was too much for her. Here's the truth. A woman who values you will never ignore genuine effort. She might be busy. She might be overwhelmed. But she will make you feel seen. She will reflect your presence, not erase it. But when she doesn't care, she won't need to say it. Her behavior will scream it. She'll cancel last minute. She'll scroll through her phone while you speak. She'll disappear for days and act like it's normal. The modern man has been conditioned to explain himself away, to be patient, to understand her situation, to give more so she opens up. But here's what no one tells him. When your effort is invisible to her, it's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's because she's already stopped seeing you. And the longer you stay, the more you'll forget what you deserve. Your value will shrink to fit her convenience. Your presence will become a habit she doesn't fear losing. 2. When her voice is louder than yours. If you want to know how much a woman respects you, observe one simple thing. Does she listen? Not nod, not pretend, but truly listen with curiosity, presence, and space. When she speaks, you're there. You hold her pain, her dreams, her laughter. But when you speak, she scrolls, she yawns, she changes the topic, she cuts you off. You are present, but you are not received. This is not just poor communication. This is a declaration. Because a woman who doesn't listen is not building a bond. She's looking for an audience. She wants your attention, your strength, your availability, but not your truth. You begin to shrink. You stop sharing. You stop expressing. You start bottling. Because every time you open your heart, it's met with silence, or worse, turned against you. She says she wants a strong man, but when you show strength and vulnerability, she mocks it. She says she wants connection, but she avoids every moment it might actually happen. The tragedy isn't just her disregard, it's the fact that you let it slide to keep the peace. You silence yourself to preserve a bond that's slowly suffocating you. But here's the deeper truth. If she cannot hold your truth, she is not worthy of your presence. If she doesn't listen to your heart, she has no right to your time. 3. Emotional labor is not love. You think you're in a relationship, but in reality, you're doing emotional labor. You show up fully while she drips presence like a leaky faucet. You pour in time, energy, devotion, while she gives just enough to keep you hopeful. It's not intimacy. It's a system. A system where your effort is currency and her attention is reward. But the cost is your self-worth, and you pay it daily. Why? Because you're hoping she'll wake up and see you. But you cannot wake someone who benefits from pretending to be asleep. And you cannot build a connection with someone who only values the power of being wanted, not the weight of giving it back. 4. The Stoic man and the line of self-respect. A Stoic man does not beg to be seen. He gives, he speaks, he listens, and then he observes. And if the energy is not returned, he withdraws, not as a tactic, not to manipulate, but because his peace is too sacred to waste. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." You've done that. You've been that. But a good man in the wrong place becomes a ghost to himself. You must be ruthless with your presence. Protect your effort like it's your lifeline, because it is. You are not here to be emotionally mined by someone who cannot see you. You are not here to keep a dying flame alive with your breath alone. Let go with dignity. Withdraw your warmth from the cold, and let your absence do what your words never could. Show her what you truly brought to the table. 5. The invisible wound of modern men. There is a silent epidemic, men who feel unseen, unheard, unwanted, not because they lack love to give, but because they keep giving it to those who only take. And so they burn quietly, smiling on the outside, empty on the inside, waiting for someone to notice their light dimming. But no one's coming to save you, brother. You must become your own fire. You must rebuild in silence, away from the echo chambers of empty validation. 6. The choice. So now you face a choice. Keep explaining yourself to someone who already decided not to listen, or reclaim your voice by giving it to those who would never ask you to beg for it. This isn't about hate. This is about clarity. This isn't about punishing her. This is about respecting yourself. Because the man who keeps chasing value will always feel like he doesn't have any. But the man who walks away from silent rejection enters a louder truth. He is not broken. He was just misseen. And now he sees himself again. You thought you were the problem, but you were just invisible in the wrong mirror. In the next chain we go deeper, to the man who stands in a room full of people and still feels alone. Not because he is weak, but because he's been made to believe his presence is too much. Stay with us. Next, chain 2, the invisible man. You can be present in her life and still be invisible.
A continuation of the descent into clarity, where effort meets a wall and silence becomes your teacher. Chain 2, the invisible man. She prioritizes others and is emotionally unavailable. You're there for her, but never truly there with her. And that's not confusion. It's the clearest truth. 1. The weight of being last. You can measure a woman's respect by one thing: how she prioritizes you. Not what she says, but where she places you when life gets full. And here's what you've noticed. You're not first, you're not second, you're not even remembered when she's thriving. You're a placeholder. She sees her friends. She answers every message on her feed. She posts stories, goes out, makes time. But when it comes to you, suddenly she's busy, overwhelmed, needs space. You want to believe it's temporary, that it's just a phase, that maybe she's figuring things out. But deep down, you know what it really is. She doesn't value you enough to make space. A woman who truly sees your worth doesn't leave you on red. She doesn't go days without asking how you are. She doesn't cancel without remorse or forget your presence when things get good. Because respect doesn't wait for convenience. It's shown in chaos, and it's shown in peace. 2. The half-open door. She doesn't leave, but she never really stays. She's in your life, just enough to keep you confused. Just enough to make you question whether you're the one expecting too much. But this isn't expectation. This is a basic need to be emotionally received, and that need is denied. Every time you try to go deeper, to connect, to talk, to open your heart, she turns cold. She jokes it off. She avoids it. She accuses you of being too emotional, too serious, or too intense. But let's be clear, this isn't about you being too much. It's about her being emotionally absent. Because a woman who is emotionally unavailable is not building a bond. She's building a boundary. One that keeps you close enough for attention, but far enough to avoid responsibility. 3. A lifeline turned leash. She texts when she's lonely. She calls when she's bored. She shows affection in moments, but disappears in the moments that matter most. That's not connection. That's control. And many men confuse the two. You begin to think, if I'm more patient, if I give her more time, if I prove I'm safe. But no, that's not love. That's the slow erosion of your standards. You are teaching her that she can withhold presence and still receive yours.
that she can show up only when convenient and still expect your loyalty. You become the backup plan, the emotional sponge, the steady rock she leans on, but never stands beside. 4. Stoic truth. Love is reciprocal, or it's a lie. Seneca said, "A gift is not a gift unless it is accepted." Your presence is a gift. Your emotional investment is a gift. But a gift rejected repeatedly is no longer noble. It becomes desperation. The Stoic path is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Clear enough to know when someone isn't meeting you halfway. Clear enough to walk away without drama and without explanation. You do not need to beg for consistency. You do not need to remind someone how to value presence. Because love in its highest form does not need reminding. 5. The modern orphaning of masculine value. This is the silent tragedy. Men conditioned to believe that being understanding means accepting neglect, so you downplay your needs. You suppress your voice. You convince yourself that maybe this is what modern relationships look like. But here's the real cost. You're no longer you. You've become a version of yourself that she tolerates, not one she cherishes. You were built to be met, not just kept around.
You were born to be chosen, not tolerated when convenient.
You weren't made to be half-loved, and certainly not used as an emotional vending machine. 6. The shift. So here's the hard shift. When she stops showing up, you stop explaining. When she stops making time, you stop making excuses. You don't hate her, you just recognize the pattern, and then you withdraw, with calm, not with rage. Why? Because clarity is the most powerful closure. There comes a moment in every man's story where he sees the pattern clearly for the first time. She keeps him around not because she values him, but because he's convenient. He gives, she takes. But the bond is not love, it's transaction. In the next chain, we go deeper into this modern dynamic. If your presence is only valued when it benefits her, it's not love. It's extraction. Say the word, brother, and we continue. Now we go into the coldest chain yet, where affection is a tool, presence is a tactic, and your soul becomes the currency. This is where love dies and transaction begins. Chain 3. The transactional bond. She uses you when it's convenient. She's not building with you, she's borrowing from you. And once you're empty, she's gone. 1. The man who is always there. You always show up. That's who you are, solid, reliable, consistent. She knows this, and that's exactly why she doesn't have to invest. She doesn't reach out when you're quiet, only when she is lonely. She doesn't check in when you're low, but expects you to hold space for her breakdowns. She gives you crumbs of connection, only when her main plans fall through. Only when she's bored. Only when she wants attention without commitment. You become the default option. And yet, because you care, you stay. But this isn't love. This is an emotional ATM.
2. It's not love, it's access.
What you thought was presence was never about you. It was about what you provided. Your attention, your time, your strength, your safety, your validation. You were a feeling, not a person. A source of security, until she felt secure enough to disappear. And yet when she returns, it's not to build, it's to borrow again, to feel wanted again, to make sure you haven't moved on. This is how many men are kept on emotional leashes. Not through lies, but through moments. Just enough warmth to reset your hope. Just enough contact to re-engage your loyalty. 3. The modern exchange. This is not a rare case. It is the dominant pattern of the modern world. affection in exchange for access, comfort in exchange for control. She may not even be aware of it, but that doesn't make it any less real. The game is this: give just enough to keep him tethered, withdraw just enough to keep him chasing. You provide the emotional safety net, while she explores every other option. And when those options fail, she lands back on you like nothing happened. But you're not a safety net. You're not a plan B. You are a man, or you are nothing in her eyes. And if you allow this dynamic, she will never see you differently. 4. The Stoic boundary. Epictetus taught, "You are not a vessel to be filled by others, but a flame to be fed by your own discipline." A man's power begins where his boundaries begin. You're not here to be emotionally rented out. You're not here to be a therapist with no return. You're not here to be her comfort in solitude while she disrespects your presence in public. A woman who values you wants to build. She shows up without needing to be begged. She doesn't extract you, she includes you. The moment you sense you're being used, the only dignified answer is distance. Because if you don't set the boundary, she will set the pattern, and that pattern will drain you.
5. This is how men lose themselves. Here is the brutal truth. You won't even realize how much of yourself you've lost until it's too late. Because it doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in micro-compromises. One ignored call you forgive. One flake you justify. One cold stare you explain away. One breadcrumb you mistake for a feast. And then you wake up, a ghost of your former self, surviving off attention from someone who never intended to see you as a king, only a tool. Brother, stop playing the provider in a one-way story. You are not the background character in someone else's drama. You are the flame, not the fuel. Transition to final chain. You may have thought the cost was only emotional, but the deeper you go, the more you see. She's not just draining your affection, she's draining your time, your energy, your life. In the final chain of this journey, we'll enter the coldest domain of all, Chronos, the god of time, and we'll ask the final question: what does it cost to give your time to someone who doesn't value it? Let's light the final fire of this series, the one they never see until it's too late, where your energy becomes currency and your time, your very life, is stolen moment by moment. Chain 4. The time thief. She disrespects your time. She drains your energy. Time is life. Guard it like a king defends his throne. 1. The most expensive gift. Forget the words, forget the promises. The clearest measure of what someone values is how they treat your time. A woman may say she cares, but if she constantly cancels, shows up late, leaves you waiting, or drains your schedule with thoughtless games, she's not disorganized. She's disrespectful. Why? Because deep down she doesn't believe your time costs anything. You've been too flexible, too available, too forgiving. And now she's not just wasting your time, she's rewriting your identity as a man who tolerates being second. 2. You adjust, she decides. She flakes, you adjust. She delays, you wait. She vanishes, you check in. At some point, you stop being a man on a mission and became a man in her orbit. And that shift is fatal. Because once your schedule is no longer yours, neither is your life. You begin rescheduling your own goals just to accommodate hers. You answer her calls at the expense of your focus. You spend your nights calming her storms while your own mind remains unbuilt. That's not love. That's a slow, spiritual erosion. 3. The drain she never acknowledges. But it's not just time. It's the energy she drains. The mental clutter, the emotional confusion, the constant feeling of being off balance. You show up as a man full of direction and walk away feeling like a scattered boy. Why? Because she treats your strength like a faucet. Turn it on when needed, turn it off when bored. She tells you she's tired. She tells you she forgot. She tells you something came up. But she never apologizes for the weight she adds to your soul. And when you're tired, truly tired, no one checks in on you. Because your exhaustion has become expected. 4. The unseen cost. This is the part most men never calculate. Every hour you spend waiting for her to show up, you are not building. Every text she doesn't reply to, you are shrinking in clarity. Every excuse she offers, you are slowly questioning your standards. And worst of all, you start to blame yourself. Maybe you expect too much. Maybe you need to be more patient. Maybe you are the problem. No, brother. You were just too generous with your time, and she taught you that generosity equals weakness. 5. Stoic truth. Time is death unfolding. The Stoics didn't romanticize time. They saw it for what it is. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. Seneca. To give someone your time is to give them a piece of your death. So when she cancels last minute, when she ignores your calls, when she lets hours, days pass without care, she's not just playing games. She's stepping over your tombstone and laughing. Because if your time meant anything to you, you wouldn't have allowed her access to it so easily. When you guard your time, everything changes. A man becomes rare the moment he stops giving his time freely. She says, "Can we talk?" You say, "After my work is done." She flakes twice. You don't offer a third chance. She brings nothing to your table but presence. You offer her distance in return. This is not cruelty, this is clarity. Because once a woman sees that your time is guarded, she will either rise to match your energy or vanish because she was never worth it. Either way, you win. 7. The final turn. Here's the truth she doesn't want you to realize. You were never supposed to wait. You were never supposed to beg. You were never supposed to chase. You were supposed to build. And those who respected your time were supposed to earn their place beside you. So let her feel the weight of your absence. Let your silence become your signature. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You need your time back, and a clear throne to defend it from. Because when you guard your time like a king, you reclaim the empire of your life. Final words. The sovereign man rises. She ignored your effort. She silenced your voice. She drained your energy. She wasted your time. But now you see. Now you know. And that is the final weapon, because the man who knows what he brings never begs to be kept. Subscribe to the channel, brother. This is not just content, it's war against weakness, and every man who's ready to rise walks with us. Until next time, guard your throne.